How's it going, everybody? You are listening to Trail Tales episode number 84. My name is Kyle O'Grady. I am a thru hiker. I am a peak bagger. I am a huge hiking nerd, as you all know, and this is the podcast where every single week I chat with other hiking nerds about their experiences on the trail. This week's guest is Amy Hunsucker. Her trail name is Slider, and that's because she thru hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2018 with a plastic trombone, and it's just hilarious. I feel like in a lot of these Trail Tales episodes, we get like super in-depth about like crazy hiking projects, and with all that said, Slider is still a super badass hiker, don't get me wrong, but I ask her a lot of questions in this about the trombone, like honestly, so it's just a very fun and lighthearted episode, which I really enjoyed. It was a nice little change of pace. So Slider, thank you so much for coming on. When you hear this, let's do another episode sometime soon. We're gonna get into it in just a second. First, let me do my plugs. You guys know the plugs. The Instagram, Kyle Hates Hiking on Instagram. Go check that out. My YouTube channel, I'm sure most of you know this already, or you should if you don't, but Kyle Hates Hiking on YouTube as well. Almost at 10,000 subscribers. That's pretty cool. Should be getting there hopefully in the next week or so, something like that. Kyle Hates Hiking on YouTube, of course, and Patreon. No, I always mess this up. Patreon.com/trailtales. Go check that out. If you listen to the show on the regular and you want to help support the show, I would really appreciate you please checking out the Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/trailtales. And folks, Sawyer is back with the sponsorship. That's right. This episode is sponsored by Sawyer Products, and what I am about to talk about is some of their international charity work, because here's the thing. I feel like most people listening to this probably already know Sawyer for their amazing water filters or their bug spray, their permethrin, all that stuff. But what a lot of people probably don't know about Sawyer is they actually do a ton of charity work. I'm saying it's honestly amazing. Like every time I talk to them on the phone about these deals we're doing with the podcast and YouTube and stuff, I'm always so amazed to hear about this stuff. They do so much charity work. And what I'm going to be talking about specifically today is their work in Liberia. With the help of Sawyer's filters, and to be clear, I'm talking the same filters that you and I and so many long-distance hikers use on the trail. With the help of those filters, Liberia is going to be the first developing country with clean water border to border in every single household by December of 2020. So there was a study done by research teams from Calvin College that have been tracking the implementation of 100,000 Sawyer water filters placed throughout Liberia, and the results concluded that the Sawyer water filters were able to reduce diarrhea by over 90% in Liberia, which is amazing because here in the West, or at least in terms of a thru hike or hikers, I guess, when you get diarrhea, which is kind of weird to talk about, but it's usually not that big a deal. Like, it definitely sucks. Like, I'm sure a lot of people have probably experienced that on a thru hike at some point, which again, really weird to say, but it sucks, but it's not that big a deal. But in Liberia and many other developing countries, diarrhea is actually a really big deal. It's not safe. It's not a good thing. And so the fact that Sawyer's filters were able to reduce it so drastically is honestly just so amazing. And in case you want some more details about this study, you are going to get them. The way it worked is in the first almost 24,000 households that they analyzed, 34% of them reported cases of diarrhea, so over a third. That's pretty crazy. 2 weeks later, after using the filters, that number went down to just under 3%, and they followed up 8 weeks later, and it went down even more. So super incredible. Guys, you got to go over to international.sawyer.com and read about their work in Liberia and a bunch of other places too, which I will hopefully be talking about on future episodes of Trail Tales. I just feel so lucky to be working with a company that does not only make amazing, super useful products for hikers, products I've been using for many years, long before this podcast, but also just does so much good work around the world using their products in such a positive way. So once again, international.sawyer.com. Go check it out. It's really incredible. Thank you so much to Sawyer. for sponsoring this episode, for keeping Trail Tales going like this. I really appreciate it. With that said, let's get into the episode. Episode number 84 of Trail Tales with Slider, Appalachian Trail class of 2018. All right, here we go. Episode number 84 of Trail Tales. Amy Hunsucker. Slider is her trail name. What's up?
Hi, thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. You've done a lot of podcasts. I was just looking through your Instagram. I know you've done, was it Hiking Thru and Rachel's Trail Name Here, podcast here, that thing as well. Have you done any other ones besides that?
Only one called Stories from the Trail.
Oh, cool. Oh my,
so,
you've done
Reptar, Voldemort, and I feel bad. I don't remember the third person's name. But
well, I don't remember. Gary Sizer, that's his name.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember
Green Giant. And Crazy Larry was on there at one point too.
Crazy Larry, he's the guy from the hostel in Damascus, right?
Yep, he is. Yeah. I got to meet him and have had a bit of a chat with him in person at the hostel with some other hikers.
I didn't stay there, but obviously the trail goes like right by the hostel, like on your way out of Damascus if you're going northbound. For those who aren't familiar, I feel like he was sitting on his porch. Like I don't really remember. Okay, I might be making this up, but I feel like I have a memory of like walking by there and he was like out there like smoking a cigarette or something, and like he said something to me. I don't remember.
It's very possible. I didn't stay there, but two hikers that I was hiking with did, and we're just kind of hanging out on the porch, and he came out and just started talking to us.
I'm sure he's a nice guy, but yeah, I don't really know much about him. Crazy freaking Larry. But yeah, you've done almost all of them. You got to do a Backpacker Radio next. That'll be like the final. I mean, I'm sure there's other podcasts too, obviously, but like just like the ones I'm thinking of, like.
Hey. Yeah, I mean, I know both of them personally, so anytime they want me to come on, I'm happy to do it.
Yes, you should. That's a great podcast. So just for those that have not heard your plethora of other podcast episodes, why don't you just go ahead and, explain who you are, what you've hiked, and why you're here, all that good stuff.
Okay, well, great. Like you said, my trail name is Slider. I hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2018. I went northbound like most people do. And my trail name Slider comes from the fact that I hiked with a plastic trombone. So I have like a college degree in music, and I'm currently in grad school also for music. So trombone's a big part of my life. So I just didn't want to go on the trail without something
you had to bring it.
So yeah, I found my ultralight trombone.
Your ultralight trombone. So the real question is, and I'm sure you've answered this on every podcast, or maybe not, honestly. I'm sure you've been asked this before. How much did it weigh?
Let me see if I remember. So on the AT, I had it in a case, which like it's a lot more lightweight than like my nice trombone. But with the case, it was like 2.8 pounds.
Oh no!
Yeah, I don't know why, but I never weighed it like with the trombone by itself, because like on my future hikes, I'm just gonna have the trombone. I'm ditching the case, so it'll be a lot more light. But it was worth it for me to have with me.
See,
I wasn't ultralight at all on the AT.
I laugh and like I joke and stuff. It just goes to show that, some people are super obsessed with weight. I'm pretty obsessed with weight. I try to go as light as possible, but like. Some heavy things are just worth bringing for some people, It's like, especially for beginner hikers that might be listening to this, it's like, I don't know. In my opinion, like, you should definitely try to like cut some weight and stuff because it's just better for your body. But that doesn't mean you have to cut out like every single little thing. And if there's an object that like you really want to bring that's not a traditional piece of hiking gear, like a trombone, for instance, you can still bring that if you really, really want to, and you can still make it work, just like Slider did. So. Sometimes I'll ask people what their trail names are, but I feel like yours is pretty self-explanatory. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you hear the name before the reason why, it's less so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the most surprising thing when I ran into people and they heard my trail name, the first thing most people would say, oh, like the slider, like burgers, like you eat. And that never popped into my mind before until like people would like ask that. And then
Yeah.
I like show them this black thing on the back of my pack. It's like, oh no, I'm carrying a trombone. And everyone pretty much has the same reaction. No one's expecting it.
How funny would it have been if you got the name Slider for something completely different than the trombone? Like just something like a complete coincidence, and then you can just kind of like pass it off like, oh yeah, it was just the trombone. I don't know. I think that's funny.
Well, it's kind of going the other way now. Anytime like I slip or like slide on a trail, like, it's like, oh, it's just another reason for the name Slider now.
Now you can like like trip like that, yeah, and just or like slide on some mud or whatever, and just be like, oh,
it's
you know,
happened.
it's my name. Like, oh yeah, trust me, it's happened to all of us. Happened to me a bunch this past weekend. Okay, so let me ask you this: how long into the hike did it take for you to get that trail name?
Okay, so I actually got it the year before. I still got it from a thru hiker, but my mom and stepdad, they're both like big hikers and backpackers. And sometime before 2017, them and a few others hiked all of the whites, but missed a section because they, I guess, misjudged it. They still had a great time, but by the end of it, they were just exhausted, so they skipped one of the huts. So 2017, it was like an early graduation present for me to go along with them and hike some of the AT up north, because up at that point, I hadn't hiked anywhere above Virginia because I lived down in South Carolina. So
Gotcha.
And it was in June or July, but it was right when Nobos and Sobos were crossing paths in the whites. So I met a bunch of people hiking in both directions. I walked with one guy for about 30 minutes and told him I was planning on hiking the AT the next year with the trombone. And then he's the one who gave me the trail name. His trail name was Billy Goat, not the famous one, just like another old man named Billy Goat, but he was really cool. And so I had it the entire time, which is weird starting off that way because most people were going by the real names. And the first few days I was introducing myself as Amy, and then, but my name is Slider, but my trail name is Slider. Gotcha. So it took a while before I went by Slider.
I was kind of the same way. Like I already had my trail name before I started the AT as well. So yeah, I think I just went with Narnar from the start, but I don't know. What was I going to say? Okay, so I'm sure you've been asked this a bunch too, but like what did it look like when you played it? Like, I guess I scratch that. How often did you play it while you're actually like on your thru hike?
I'll be honest, I didn't play it too often, like no more than every few days. Like I would go like a week without playing it at times just because like, especially once I started getting in better shape and could do more miles, the last thing you want to do was like spend more time up using energy, and the trombone takes a good amount of energy to play. But I think especially in the beginning, because I started in early March, so it was really cold, and 2018 I guess was just a really cold year for a lot of AT Nobo hikers, so it was cold for a long time, so there'd be a lot of people sitting around a fire, and then one person would be like, hey Slider, you should play something on your trombone. Everyone comes in and around people, that's usually how it happens for me, or like at a hostel. But I think most of the time I played it, I'm just like up on a cliff or view by myself, and those are my favorite moments with it.
Gotcha. That was going to be my next question, was like I don't even know how I would have phrased it because I still can't phrase it, but how would you play it? And you pretty much just answered. I was going to try to make the distinction between like playing it around other people, or did you play more by yourself, or all that stuff, but I just think that's so funny. Like,
it's a bit of both.
I could just see.
I actually got a free stay at a hostel for playing my trombone for the owner.
Where?
In Hot Springs, at Laughing Hearts Hostel.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was tenting, but I didn't have to pay money to stay there, so that was really nice.
It's like a work for stay, but it's like
Yeah.
a play for stay.
Oh,
That's so
yeah.
funny.
Well, funny you mentioned work for stays. In the White Mountains, I actually I did 3 work for stays. I had a trail family at that point, but they were ahead of me because I had to stay in the town of Lincoln an extra night to wait for my shoes to get to the post office because the ones I had were 1,000 miles in and falling apart, so I had to wait.
Mm.
And so I was hiking by myself through most of the whites, and 3 different times my job for work for stay was to play my trombone in the morning to wake up the guest.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so much better than scrubbing dishes and shit like
I
had
did
to
do some sweeping and cleaning dishes, but one of them, I think is Gale Head Hut, my only job was to play my trombone to wake up the guests. And it was great.
That's so fun. I bet you the crew at the huts loved that shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
That's so funny. I only did one work for stay, and I had to like clean a bunch of stuff, and I'm like complaining about it, but like obviously like they fed us and let us stay for free, and it was Lake of the Clouds too, so it was like super epic.
Nice.
So I shouldn't complain too much. It wasn't that bad, but probably not as much fun as playing a trombone to wake people up. How long did you have to play it for? Was it just like a quick like, yo, get the hell out of bed, or was it like a rip on that thing for like fucking, I don't know, 10 minutes in the morning? Like, how long did you have to play it for?
No, I think it was like 30, 40 seconds long. And then the crew told me like what to say after I finished playing. It's like, breakfast, everybody wake up, or like, good morning, breakfast is at 7 a.m. Awesome. Yeah, I have a video of it. That's, that was my favorite one at Gale Head Hut, where that was my only job, and they told me to actually yell at the guests afterwards.
Why didn't they let me do that? I could have like made some fucking noise and like woke everyone up like a douchebag. I'm sure it wouldn't have been nearly as entertaining as a trombone.
Yeah, I don't think anyone like, they might have been mad at first, but when they realized what it was I was playing, they were too surprised to be mad at me anymore.
Yeah, right. They're like, somebody hiked this in. Little did they know you hiked it a lot further than just into the hut. Yeah. I have so many questions about this. Like, did anybody actually? I don't know. This might offend you. Hopefully not. Did anybody ever like not want to hear your trombone? Did anybody ever like get mad or be like passive aggressive about it? Like, stop playing your fucking trombone. Like, I'm trying to just go to bed or whatever.
Not that I ever heard of. I mean, I never played it super late. Like, I was
right, and I wasn't trying to insinuate that you were like, ripping on that thing at like fucking midnight in the middle of the shelter.
Oh god, no. I'm a very religious follower of Hiker Midnight. So once it gets dark, I would go to sleep. And if for some reason, like, I rarely had my trombone out that late anyways, but if I did, like, I'd be the one go off to sleep. I'm a morning person, so I have no problem going to bed early to get up early in the morning.
Gotcha. Freaking trombone. I'll be honest, I don't even know that much about like I know what it looks like. I know it sounds like one of those horned brass instruments, but I don't really know much about it beyond that. Were you like I don't know, did you ever like think about, this is a dumb question, did you ever think about like just not bringing it, or was it like, were you always like, I gotta have like some sort of instrument, and like it just made sense?
I mean, I did kind of think of it, but I ended up getting the shorthand for it's just P-bone, short for plastic trombone. I ended up getting it for free from just a band director friend of mine that I like booked for him, taught some of his students, and he just had one sitting around in his band room for years. And when I told him that I wanted to buy one for my hike, he said, "Oh, you can just have this one." So that was that really sealed the deal for me.
Gotcha. And here's probably a better question. Slightly better, still not very good. Did you ever think about getting rid of it while you were actually like on trail? Like, or not getting rid of it, but like, not carrying it anymore to save weight or whatever, especially since it sounds like you weren't playing it like every single day and maybe not playing it that much. I don't know. Did you ever come to a point where you were like thinking about that, or was it just like too much pride, like too much fun, like it's your trail name, your identity obviously, and you're just like, no, I can't get rid of it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to call it pride, then sure, but no, I never considered sending it home. There was one point in the Smoky Mountains where I was like trying to figure out a way to attach it to my backpack without the case because the case is a lot heavier than the actual trombone. But that was a huge failure, so I just dealt with it the rest of the time.
I gotcha. Did you ever like jam with anybody else that was carrying an instrument?
I did. So some of them didn't go so well because I'm more like classically trained or like orchestrally trained on my instrument. So like I love jazz, but like improv isn't much my thing. Something I'm trying to get better at. But I think my favorite jam session, I guess, was with I think she was she's a flip flopper, or she was just like doing a section or a lash. I'm not sure, but I met her. I stayed with her at the Yellow Deli.
Mm-hmm.
And she was
classic.
She was hiking with, her name is Sale. She was hiking with this like old antique recorder, I think it was. And like it was really cool. Like it was a pretty big size, like still made of wood, and I think like she got it from a professor who like told her like take it on the trail, play it out in nature. And she basically taught me this song from, do you know the Chronicles of Narnia?
No. I mean, I've heard of it.
It's a book and then like a movie. I guess the movie didn't do so well, but I still liked it. But there's a lullaby that the like half person, half goat or something, Tubman's character plays to make the youngest girl, Lucy, fall asleep when she gets into the world. So like she taught me that, and so like I played the melody of it and she played like the drone notes underneath, and it was a lot of fun because we actually got a video of it, and this other hiker, D'Artagnan, he socks on his hands and went behind a tent that was hanging up to dry and did sock puppets behind it while we were playing, and
so creative.
I had to turn away from him because I was laughing watching him. And unfortunately we did get a video of it, but for some reason the sound isn't working, so like you can still see it and you can see him doing the sock puppets, but you can't hear anything, which is too bad. That was a really nice moment.
Gotta use your imagination, I guess.
Yeah.
When did you, you said you started in March at some point. When did you finish? Because I hiked in 2018 as well. I'm just curious if we like cross paths at all.
No, I was I think a month or two ahead of you. You started in May, didn't you?
Yeah,
I started March 10th and I finished July 31st.
Okay, so yeah, you were way ahead of me because I was in friggin', oh god, where was I? I was just out of Virginia on July 31st. So yeah, that's funny. It's crazy though. Like I've had some guests before, like way back at the beginning of the show, maybe, where it's like we definitely passed each other because like one in particular, this guy was going southbound in 2018 and I was going northbound, so like we know we passed each other at some point, but like we just like couldn't. And to this day, even after our conversation, like for the episode, we like still just couldn't figure out where we passed each other. But
yeah,
that's funny.
I have.
That's funny.
I met this one guy after the AT. His trail name is Dine and Dash, and he was kind of like in time with me, although we never met each other on the trail, but we started within 1 or 2 weeks of each other and then finished with within 1 or 2 weeks of each other. We definitely like crossed paths at a few different points because like we've talked about it before, but we just never actually ran into each other. Which would have been cool because he was hiking with the ukulele, so it would have been nice to play with him. But we met because so after the AT, I moved to Colorado, and he was kind of just driving around and stopping in different places to hike, and I just ended up running into him on a hike because the other girl I was hiking with had an AT tag on her day pack, and he saw it and came and talked to us, and that's when we found out that we were very close to meeting each other. It just never happened.
Oh, it's like such a small world, honestly. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's so crazy.
Yeah, but now we're hoping to hike the Continental Divide Trail next year together with one other. Yeah, so it should be great.
Nice. So I may or may not be also thinking about possibly maybe kind of sort of doing the CDT next year, perhaps, maybe. What direction do you think you're going to go?
I'm going south. I've talked to a lot of people who have hiked it, and like just stories from people who have heard about others who have hiked it. And from what I've found out, Sobos have a lot more fun. You see a lot less snow. And as long as you can beat winter down south, you're good to go.
That's very good to hear, because I was also thinking about going Sobo for those same exact reasons, and it's nice to hear somebody else with the same like thought process, I guess.
But also I'm in school. I'll graduate next year in May. But going Sobo lines up better with like graduation for me. So it just all pointed to that. Like, I'm fine not ending in Glacier. I'm perfectly fine starting there.
Yeah, that's like the one downside, it's because like finishing like on the border of Mexico is probably not as as cool as finishing in Glacier, but I don't know. It definitely like I feel like it just makes more sense logistically, and I'm not like a CDT expert, so if anybody has a reason why Nobo is better, I'm all ears too. Like, I'm happy to hear it, but I don't know. It just seems like Sobo is the way to go. Yeah. I've also heard, and this is definitely not confirmed, but I feel like I've heard people say that if you go Sobo, you don't hit Colorado in like peak thunderstorm season either, which I do not like thunderstorms at all in Colorado, where there's like a lot of exposed terrain. That would definitely scare the shit out of me. So I know you could probably still, like, I'm sure you'll still get some, but like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
actually, you'd be a good person to ask about that, because you fucking live there now.
I've been stuck in one thunderstorm on a 14er. Happened pretty recently, actually. Thankfully, there wasn't any lightning, but the thunder was right over our heads, and like, that's the most scared I've been on a mountain, because there was also hailing on us. Thankfully, like small hail, and with our hoods up, we were fine. But overall, that was the most scared I've been on a trail, and there was nowhere we could go, because we could like see clouds coming in partway up the second peak we were doing. But we were like, okay, we're already this close. We have to keep going. I don't want to turn around. So we got up there, and we have to go back down a saddle and then back up to like 14,000 feet almost before we can like actually get down. And right as we started going up that last part, which is also super steep, has no cover anywhere, of course, because it's up so high. That's when the hail started, and the thunder was like right above our heads. And it was really loud.
That scares the hell out of me, honestly. Like, I don't like to think about that. Roughly, I'm thinking maybe like September would be like a normal time is that right? For a CDT hiker, Sobo, to be like hiking through Colorado?
I don't know. I mean,
I feel like I've heard that before.
I've been thinking of like early July start time for the CDT for next year. Possibly. I'm not really sure. I haven't put that much thought into when I'll probably be in Colorado or anywhere else.
Yeah, I don't know. Freaking lightning and thunder. I don't know. Do you have any advice for dealing with that in Colorado, like specifically? I know, like, the traditional, like, there's no safe place outside, like try to not above tree line, but I don't know. Is there any, this might be a tough question, because I'm honestly not sure there's much else you can do, but if beyond just like the conventional wisdom in terms of lightning, is there any other like tips or tricks or whatever I should know for that?
Yeah, just like be wary of the clouds. Storms move in fast. They don't typically last long, which is really nice.
That's
especially
good,
when there's like a thunderstorm when you're up high and exposed. It's very likely, like, we could, on the CDT, you could get at a point where there's a thunderstorm coming in, or it's already there, and you, even as much as it sucks, you just have to go back down and get cover, because obviously it's just not safe up there. Like, a bunch of people I knew who hiked the CDT last year, that happened multiple times for them.
That's got to be so frustrating on like a through hike. It's just one thing if it's just like a day hike and you're like, whatever, I'll just come back another time, turn around early. But like on a through hike, it's like the last fucking thing you want to do. And I'm sure this is like repeat miles, like, I hated even just like backtracking like 0.1 to like go to the water source or something like that. On
me
the
too.
Like, that's brutal.
Yeah, that, and I think the biggest thing I'll be worried about going Sobo is just beating winter in Colorado, in like southern Colorado, and even like New Mexico, because at least northern New Mexico, it's still up around 8,000. I think even some places 10,000 feet. So like you're not safe once you're out of Colorado.
Yeah, true. True. I guess once you make it out of like northern New Mexico, then you're probably, I mean, it'll still get cold, I'm sure, but at least you won't be like up super high.
And I think
I don't know. I feel like that's,
I think like the terrain gets a lot easier, so you can just crush miles to the end.
right. Right. You can just kind of like rip it at the end. That makes sense. Yeah. I still, honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to go for the PCT or the CDT next year, but pretty sure I'm going to do one of those, maybe, sort of, kind of.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I really want to finish my Triple Crown with the PCT, so I'm ready to get...
Why is that?
I feel like most people do it with the CDT, but I've heard just the PCT is just a completely different kind of scenery, a lot more open than the AT. I still love the AT. Like, I hate hearing PCT hikers say that they don't want to hike the AT because they think they'll get bored. For me, I never got bored. I never got the Virginia blues or anything. Like, there are days that like kind of droned on, but I still like the views inside the trees, especially once like everything started turning green and it wasn't cold anymore. But PCT just sounds like a beautiful one to finish with that isn't crazy intense in the wilderness like the CDT is.
I agree with that 100%. That's actually very similar to what I'm thinking. Like I said, I'm still not sure which one I'm going to do, but that's definitely something I've considered. It's like, yeah, because most people finish on the CDT, I feel like, or a lot of people do anyways, and so it'd be kind of cool to switch it up. And I also think it would be kind of cool to get what most people say is the hardest one out of the way rather than saving it for last. You know, I almost feel like maybe this is just getting too cocky and ahead of myself, but I almost feel like saving the PCT, which a lot of people say is easier than the CDT, for last would be kind of nice, because then it's like once you finish the CDT, you're like, okay,
you can do anything.
now I just gotta like crush the exactly. Because or it's like if you go do the PCT next, it's like great accomplishment, but it's like shit. Like it's like one step up each time. Like now I gotta go like finish on the hardest one. But I don't know. At the same time, like for someone like me who has never hiked out west, going right into the CDT might be kind of a bad idea. Probably a bad idea. But shit, I don't know. There's trade-offs either way, you know?
No, people do that every year. Like, I mean, as long as you do your research and know what you're getting into, be fine. Yeah.
Hopefully.
But like another way I see it as is like the AT, it's awesome. It's not an easy thing to do. It's definitely the hardest one physically because of how steep it is. But everything else is super easy. Like logistically, you don't have to plan at all. Easy. I never sent any boxes, like food boxes ahead. I always just get a hitch into town and come back. And that getting hitches was super easy too. The CDT, it's going to be so much harder because if you get a hitch, it's going to be a lot longer and less options to choose from.
And how about, I know I said no COVID talk, but just for a second, like I feel like COVID's going to make things harder to hitch too. So it's like going to be even harder to hitch on an already like hard trail to hitch on. So that's not,
definitely.
That's not great.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see how things continue for next year, or hopefully don't.
What's like the best? Yeah, hopefully not. What's like? I was thinking about this the other day. Again, I said no COVID, so I'm breaking my own rule here. But what's like the for like a mask, like while you're hitching, like, because I feel like you want to show people that you're like taking it seriously, but you also like can't just cover up your face either, because like a big part of hitching in my opinion is like showing like a positive facial expression so that just like instinctively they like trust you more or whatever. So it's like, how do you navigate that? Do you just like put the mask like down below your face? And then, so like they know you have it and they know you're like taking it seriously, but then like they can still see your face. Like, I don't fucking know. Like
I don't know.
It's unprecedented.
I have not thought about that at all, but that seems like a good way to go with it. Like have it around your ears and just pull it under your chin so they can see you have it. I mean,
and then like pull it up when they stop or whatever.
I guess you never know if someone like actually cares about the mask or not because they're both people. But,
yeah, exactly. And then I guess you could wear a buff. That'd probably be the best thing, is just wear a buff, because then it kind of fits with the hiker vibe anyways. But then it's like, oh, you can use it as, I don't
maybe
know.
like
If anybody has
bring
any,
an extra buff that I'm not sweating in every day.
yeah, right. I don't know if anybody has any tips or tricks for hitching in these times, then I don't know. Shit, let me know.
Well, one of the
But,
guys in my trail
anyways.
family is on the CDT now, Sobo. He started 2-3 weeks ago, so you can find out from him
wow.
how it's going.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, honestly. Especially with the hitching.
Yeah.
Because like that's such a important thing, and I feel like that's the thing that's going to be affected the most by this, at least for now.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And yeah, there's also I don't know if you've heard about the Strawbridge family. Like they're hiking the CDT. I think
No, I haven't.
I think they're the same. I think they're smaller than the Crawfords. I think there's 4 kids. I'm not 100%, but I'm curious to see like how they do hitches, like if they have people just like going up and bringing stuff to them, or I don't know. It's got to be a lot harder for them to do the CDT than the last one they just did.
Doing the CDT with a family, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, doing any through hike with a family is crazy, but damn, friggin' dragging your kids through like grizzly country. Holy shit.
Yeah, I know.
That's fucking nuts.
I met the Crawfords on the AT, and they got to a point where like the dad, then most of the time it was basically like just him carrying the youngest, the 2-year-old. And then it got to a point where I guess they were like, okay, well, I don't have to carry him all the time. The older kids are going much faster than us. So like he started handing off the 2-year-old to like the older kids to carry and take turns with that, and that seemed like good for them. But thankfully like the Strawbridge family doesn't have to deal with anyone too young, so like everyone can walk on their own.
When you met the Crawfords, like did the kids seem like into it?
Yeah.
Were they about it?
They seemed fine with it. I think the youngest girl, maybe I don't want to like speak for them, but I've just from what I've heard, maybe like the youngest girl might have been struggling the most, but for at least my interaction with them, they all seem to be enjoying themselves out there. This was around Pennsylvania, so it was a good deal into it.
Yeah, they were balls deep at that point.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know how I feel about families. I'm not a parent, so I feel like I don't really have that much credibility on this issue, to be honest. But
I know the Crawfords homeschool their kids, so like it works out well enough. And I know like they're very open on the videos and on social media, and they're very much about like if anyone just absolutely didn't want to be out there anymore, then they would get off because they were doing everything like as a family. So.
Yeah, I honestly don't know very much about them. Did they hike? They hiked in our year?
Yeah,
the year before?
Yeah, I met them on the trail while I was hiking.
Oh wait, no shit, you just said that. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I honestly don't know much about them. Probably partially because I was hiking while they were doing their thing. I know they still make content now.
Yeah. They finished in August, so they were a good deal ahead of you too. They started one of the first, like March 1st to 2nd, I think. So they were way ahead of where you were.
Maybe I should have one of them on the show. Shit, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I don't know anything about kids. Like I'm not a kids person, so like I feel like I wouldn't know what to ask. And honestly, I still don't know how I feel about like I don't know.
Yeah, to each their own.
It's weird.
They seemed really nice. Like they were all really nice to me, and when I met them, the first day I met them, they were like taking a break, and like I said a few things, and they kept going. And then I saw them again the next morning, because they went to this one area on a road because one of the followers wanted to bring them food, which they did. They brought them like a big breakfast, and I walked up and got like the scraps left over that the kids didn't finish. And talked to them for a little bit longer. I met some other through hikers who I would see a lot down the road. I don't know if you ever heard of the Degenerates.
No, I haven't.
It's another trail family with like a name and a thing that they go with, but they were all really cool.
Degenerates.
Yeah. Oh, they're awesome.
All those degenerates were so cool.
No, I love these guys. And yeah, I actually ended up in one of the Crawford family's videos because they asked me to play my trombone for them, and they all seemed okay with it, I guess.
Speaking of the trombone, back to that. What are you gonna do differently, or if anything at all, on your next through hikes in terms of the trombone?
Yeah, so I don't plan on getting super ultralight, but I do have plans for. I've already lessened my load, my weight a good bit. Like, so I have a new backpack that, because I was using an Osprey before, and it's nice. I still have it, but it was a 65L, much bigger than I needed. So now I have one it's a company called Elemental Horizons. It's a much smaller company, but my mom got a backpack from them and I tried hers out. I really liked it. And the biggest thing for me is that the side pockets are huge. So I can actually fit my trombone in both side pockets and then I still put water in it. And so, which means I can like ditch my case at home and
the case, yeah, that's the case.
So that solves that problem. Nice. And I bought a new tent that's, a little bit lighter than the one I had before, and it's easier to set up, and I can set it up without the inside of it getting wet, and that'll make a huge difference for me. That's like the most I've done so far, but I am trying to lighten my load. I've considered doing cold soaking. I don't know if I'd actually want to do that or not, but at the very least, on the AT, I carried a jet boil, and which is the heaviest thing you could carry for like a nice stove. So if I don't decide I want a cold soak, then I'll probably get like an MSR, just one of the smaller ones.
Yeah. I feel that. You can use your trombone to keep the grizzlies away, like when you're hiking through Montana and shit.
That's what people always say, but it's always on the back of my pack whenever I see a bear, so it's useless. Oh, no, you gotta have
it holstered, just like your bear spray. Like, you get your bear spray on one hip and then your trombone on the other. You see a bear, and you're just like, start ripping on that shit.
I never played it for bears, but I played it for other animals. It's like on the...
What animals? I gotta ask.
So on the AT, you see a lot of cows because you walk through a lot of cow pastures, and cows like music. I saw videos of people playing music and even trombone for cows, and like they seem to really enjoy it. So I told myself before I started that if I see a cow, I'm going to play it and see if it works. And it did. Every single time I saw a cow, I would play my trombone. Doesn't matter if it was raining or like the weather was awful. I stopped and played my trombone for them, and it was great. I loved doing that.
That's so funny.
And then I also played it for the ponies in Grayson Highlands. So like before I saw any, this was the one time I actually like hiked with the P-bone out of the pack. And I was with like my whole trail family. Most of us were walking together that whole day, and I wanted to be ready to go when we saw any ponies. And as soon as we did, like I started to play something, and they did not react the same way at all. One of them
they didn't like it as much as the cows.
One of them walked up and tried to bite the slide. So as soon as that happened, as soon as that happened, I just put it away because I didn't want them to break it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but it's mostly just cows.
What if you broke it?
It did break.
What would you do if you broke it?
It did break.
It did break. Okay.
Just because the way I had it attached to my pack, I had the case kind of on there pretty tight so that it wouldn't swing around. And maybe like I threw it down on the ground too hard or something. I don't know. But after climbing the Priest, coming down the other side is when I first noticed it. Like I took it out, and the tube where the bell is, it just broke clean in half. But I had some Leuco tape on me, so like I patched it up, and then when I got to town, I got some super glue, glued it together, put more Leuco tape on it, and I had to redo that a few times, but for the most part, it was still okay. No, like
that's good to hear.
I think the biggest thing, as long as the slide doesn't bend.
Leuco tape on the freaking. Oh, that's
no, it's
so
still
funny.
there.
That's literally the most hiker trash shit. Like, you get a blister, you put some Leuco tape. You break your trombone, you put some Leuco tape on it. That's so good.
As long as the slide doesn't get a dent, or as long as it doesn't bend, it's okay. Because as soon as the slide gets a dent in it, like you can't move it. It's impossible, and it's plastic. So like, I don't think there's a way I could fix that.
Let me ask you this: God forbid, if it were to break and render the thing unusable, unslidable, Would you get another one in the midst of a thru hike?
Probably.
I know you don't want to think about this. I know this is a bad situation.
No, I've thought about it.
Curious.
I would definitely try and get another one. Honestly, I want to contact the company that makes it, Jigs.
Oh, get a sponsorship.
That's seriously something I've been considering. Like, I'm getting to the point where I might like email them soon and say, "Hey, I'm doing this thing.
You should.
Again, can I have a peep home for free?" Because the other one I have, it's still broken. Like, it'll work fine, but it still has the Luger tape around it.
You should email them. Like, companies, especially like non-backpacking companies, I feel like they love that stuff. This is totally different, but I bought this random hat off of eBay. This, like, it's called Carl's Cotton. Like, I was just looking for a hat before my thru hike, yeah, and I just found this like random, like tiny little eBay vendor who sold hats. I guess his like grandfather had like a cotton business in like the 40s or some shit. I don't know what it is. It just says 1940 on the hat. But I hiked the whole AT in the hat, and then I bought another one afterwards because it was absolutely destroyed. And like I told the guy when I bought it, I was like, "Oh, yo, you know, your hat traveled the entire length of the AT," and he thought it was so cool. He sent me like, I ordered one hat, but he sent me like 2 hats,
nice.
And then a bunch of other stuff too. Like, he was really excited. It had nothing to do with this like podcast or social media or anything.
Great.
Like, I didn't plug any of that. He was just like stoked about it. So I don't know. Obviously different products. A $20 hat versus I don't know how much Trombone costs, but you know, it wouldn't hurt to ask. Right. Is my point, especially if you tag them in some Instagram photos or something.
The only thing is these plastic instruments. They're pretty much like just for kids. Because they're lightweight, and like with kids starting to play like brass instruments, they're made of brass, like metal, so like they get heavy. I still remember when I first started playing trombone, my arms would get tired so quickly. So these plastic ones are pretty much just for kids. So I'm not sure how they'd react to a 20-plus-year-old calling and saying, "Hey, I've done this with the plastic trombone already. I want to do it again."
I don't know. It's worth it. You should do it. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to try. That's so funny. I don't even know. I think that's awesome, honestly. It's like, weight is important, again, obviously, but that's just fun. This is just a fun episode of Trail Tales. Like, I feel like, I mean, I'm usually not a super serious person, but on some of these episodes, like, you know, we're just getting deep into like hiking nerdy stuff, and it's fun to just like take a step back and be like, yeah, fucking hike the trail with a trombone. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't even have a question. I just think that's awesome. I don't know. Yeah, tell me about your trail family. Totally a question that I came up with on my own. But it sounds like there's some interesting stories there.
Yeah. So there's plenty of stories. Try not to talk too much, but
no, talk too much. Okay. It's a long form podcast, please.
Okay, so well, I had met some of them in Georgia. We weren't really a trail family at that point, but about 5 of us we kept pace with each other since Georgia, and then Damascus is where like all of us ended up meeting, and it kind of started off with because I was hiking with the trombone, so like people would come up to me, like find out who I was and say, "Oh, I've heard about you. You have the trombone," which happened a good bit. And so like this big group of people came in, and some of them saw us at like this restaurant, and I heard like someone say like named Slider over at the table. So like I knew like they wanted to like ask. I think someone came over at one point. But we ended up getting invited to a party at the old mill in Damascus. I think it was someone's birthday there, and I'll leave this name out because it doesn't go well after that for this guy.
Oh, geez.
But like he was really cool when I first met him, but it just kind of went downhill with him after Damascus. But it was like his it was like his birthday party. So like when we actually got there, it was kind of late, so like things were already going, but they had a ton of, you know, hiker snacks, a bunch of cheap beer going around, so it was a great time. and we met all these other people. And when we were in Damascus, I think I had hiked 10 miles into it. And that was my, I guess, Nero day. And then I took 2 0 days while I was there. And a lot of people took 0 days because the weather was just awful. I think my first 0 day, it was raining and super cold. And the second day, it was snowing and super cold. And then the day after that, the sun came out. So everyone left on the same day. And most of us that were at that old mill party ended up at the same campsite, at the same shelter. And we all just bonded really well. And we all had plans on staying at the same place after that, going into town on the same day. So that's just kind of how it all got started. And then, so this other guy this way he started to kind of go downhill from us is he liked hiking with smaller groups, and we were probably around 18 at that point.
Shit.
It didn't stay that big for long.
Bubble ass.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So we were ahead of the main hiker bubble, but we were our own bubble in itself just because there's so many of us who we didn't necessarily hike together throughout the day, but we always ended in the same place. And then this one guy, he just obviously understood. He's very introverted. He didn't want to be around all these people. So he started hiking ahead of us. And after a few days, we started noticing he would write in the trail logs, "Beware, a horde is coming," and other stuff like that. So we basically took a name from that and called ourselves the Northbound Horde. And yeah, we just leaned right into it. Never saw him again. But yeah.
That's so funny. We got some drama on trail. I mean, not really, but kind of drama on trails.
It was all good.
That's funny.
I don't know what happened to him. I hope he finished it, but the rest of us, a lot of us stayed together. 10 of us finished on Katahdin together.
Oh, wow.
But there was a little
awesome.
bit of time where we kind of got separated. In Duncannon, I got off because I was going to a wedding, and I was gone for 8 days. Yeah.
The classic reason to get off the trail for a week.
Yep. And then I think some people were meeting up with family or got off just for a few days. I was the furthest one back, but everyone was hauled back up by Vermont. So I was the last one to catch up, and I just crossed the Massachusetts border, went into town, resupplied, and the first shelter in Vermont is where we all finally reunited again. And
nice.
Yeah, so it was a good group of people. I think the funniest way I've heard people describe us before they actually met the trail family is when I got back on the trail after the wedding in Pennsylvania, I was put right in the middle of the flip-flopper bubble. So I was seeing a lot of these people hiking north who were at a pace where I was back in Georgia. But apparently these people had already heard about us. They had already heard about the horde, and not a lot of good things. So I guess rumors run rampant on there. Some things true, some things not so much. We were a big group, so we were loud, but we'd still, when it gets dark outside, we'd either be quiet. Some people would still keep drinking, but for the most part, we'd be quiet and go to sleep once it gets dark out. I definitely did to, I guess, party, have our drinks when we went into town. My birthday on the trail was actually really cool, but it was only like that because of my trail family. It turned into a 3-day event with all of them, because the first day, my actual birthday, we hiked 33.3 miles, which was the first 30+ mile day most of us had ever done before. And it was raining half of the day, and we were exhausted at the end, but it was great. At the end of the day, the shelter was full, but they saved the spot for me in the shelter, as a birthday gift. And it was really sweet. I wasn't expecting that at all, but that was really cool. And then
nice.
All day, anytime they would see me, they just yell, "Happy birthday, Slider," every single time. And so it's just super sweet. But we did such a big
That's
day.
Awesome.
Because we wanted to get close to Woods Hole Hostel. and we stayed at Trimpe Shelter, which is about 7 miles from the hostel. So the next day we got to the hostel, took a Nero day, relaxed, and my mom actually called the hostel and then paid for my stay and paid for like the
Oh,
smoothie I got while I was there and the dinner and the breakfast. And yeah, it was really nice of her. And because she told the owner, Neville, that it was my birthday, she made chocolate chip cookies and then bought
oh, that's
yeah,
so
she made
sweet.
one for everyone in there, and every single cookie had a candle on it that I had to blow out. But it was really nice. And then the next
That's
day we went
awesome.
into Pearisburg, and that's where we had our drinks. One of the guys, Sandy, he got a cake from the grocery store across the street from the motel we were staying at, and got the I guess cake artist, whatever they're called, to draw a picture of a trombone, and it said "Happy Birthday" Slider on it. So like they're all really sweet
Nice.
for that. And this is all 3 days
That's
before
awesome.
like for my birthday, so it was really cool.
That's a that's a huge trail family, damn. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome
yeah,
though.
it's a
Like
lot
that's
of
so
us.
sweet for your birthday. Now that we're on the story train, did you have one that you prepared specifically for the end of the episode?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to decide between two. One is short and kind of more funny. The other one, it's a bit longer and happened to someone else, but kind of happened to my trail family. Uh,
Um, let's go funny. This has been a fun episode.
okay.
Let's do funny.
Well, my one of the guys in my trail family. Oh wait, no, wrong story. That's the other one. Okay, so funny one. I was attacked by a grouse.
A
A
what? A
grouse.
grouse?
I
I
didn't.
feel like I should know what that is, but I
I
don't.
didn't know what it was. But basically, what happens is,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I just googled it. I know what you're talking about.
it I couldn't see anything, but I could hear it, and like other hikers would hear it too. It's being super loud, and I'm pretty sure it was a female, and there was a nest right on the trail, which is
Mm.
why it was so agitated. But basically, I could hear it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't think anything of it, so I kept walking, and all of a sudden, this thing just comes falling out of the sky. This is up in the tree somehow, and lands right in front of me and starts charging at me. Thankfully, I wasn't like actually attacked, I guess. Like it would just charge at me and I back up, so like it would, and then it would back away. But this happened for like 2 minutes before it like went off the trail and I could get by. Like this wasn't a part of the trail where I could just take a circle around it. There was no way off of the trail at that point right there. um but yeah, that's pretty much it. I think one other person had the same thing happen, and most people just heard it. I'd never heard or seen a grouse before. The only thing I was thinking in my head is like, what is this giant turkey doing? Why is it attacking me?
Yeah.
It looks like small turkey. It looks like a small turkey. And that's all I had.
Yeah,
And
they
then
do.
we ran into a section hiker at the next campsite, and she said that it was probably a grouse. And yeah, that's what it was.
So funny. All right. I think that's gonna do it, Slider. Thank you so much for coming on here. Again, I apologize for all my scheduling nonsense.
Yeah,
I'm glad
no
we were able to make it
worries.
happen. Now you can add another podcast to your resume as well.
Yeah.
You'll just have to get on Backpacker
Yeah.
Radio now, and
Just
you'll
out
be
of
you'll be good.
curiosity, the other story, I don't know if you ever heard about the fire that happened on McAfee Knob.
No,
No.
tell the story. We got a little bit of
Okay,
time. Tell the
I'll
story.
do like a quick version. But like one of the guys in my trail family got kind of famous for it. But most of us, we were like up ahead of it. But as we were hiking up McAfee Knob, one person like he thought he could smell smoke, but no one else really could. So like we didn't think of anything of it. We went up on the knob, took our pictures, and then hiked back down. One guy, he was a bit behind us that day. So like, he was the last one out of trail family to go up it, and so there was actually a fire, and he was hiking up it, and he was around the Crawford family too. So like he went up ahead of them, and there's a bunch of smoke. He could see the fire. It wasn't super close, but he could see it from the trail from where he was. But I mean, being a through hiker, you just want to keep moving. So he kept going up until someone started running down from the top and say, you have to turn around. It's a fire. It's not safe. Go back to the parking lot. So he went back down, and he actually got a few of the kids who were ahead of the rest of the family and the Crawfords to turn around because they didn't know what was going on yet. So when he was going back down, the fire moves so fast. It was a lot closer. It was basically over the trail at that point. So he got super lucky with that. But he took a picture of himself. His trail name is Stylo. He had like the buff over his face because of the smoke, and he got that picture got shared on like hiking web pages and about any like newsfeed about the fires. Few of them showed his picture. He ended up spending the night with the Crawford family because a trail angel offered to take the family in for the night, and they told him to come with them. So it's like he basically saved the kids from the fire. So that was crazy. Some people waited around for it to open back up again. Some people just skipped it and were hoping to be able to go back and do it again. But he sent us the picture when we were taking a break on the other side, and we had no idea that it was that bad.
Damn, that's crazy. Yeah. Well, I didn't hear about that. I mean, obviously it was before I went through, but damn, that's crazy. I hope it all worked out. I hope everybody was okay.
Yeah, I don't think anyone got hurt from it, thankfully.
That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, that stuff's crazy. I really don't have to worry about fires up here in the Northeast. So whenever I hear stories about them, especially out west and stuff too, it's just like, fuck that. Yeah. Stupid fires.
Well put.
Yeah. Okay, Slider, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Why don't you go ahead and plug your, of course. Why don't you go ahead and plug your social media, anything you want like that?
Sure. So Instagram, my username is Trombone and Hike, and just spell AND. It's super simple. I also have a blog also called tromboneandhike.com. I kept a journal and I wrote in it every single day on the AT. So I've just been going day by day and sharing what I wrote in there, plus like extra details I remember. I haven't done anything with it for a while, but I'll probably start that up again soon, since I'm at the point in it where my trail family starts hiking together. So it's it'll be nice to get back into. But yeah, that's awesome. Just Instagram and my blog, both Trombone and Hike.
Cool beans. Thanks for listening, everybody. And thank you to Patrick for editing this. And yeah, have a good one, everybody.